Welcome to HIT Podcast, H.I.T, Human Resources, Insurance, and Technology. I'm your host, Toby Kennedy. As we do every week, we are dropping into your feed with what I hope are bite-sized, digestible, well-curated conversations going on in the space. This week's episode will be no exception. This week's episode is brought to you by Montage Insurance Solutions. And without any further ado, I bring on Chris, a very exciting guest. Chris, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm doing awesome. Today's my birthday, Toby. I didn't mention that before, but happy to spend it with you here today.
That's amazing. Well, happy birthday. And as a birthday segue, why don't you tell us a little bit about all the years that you've lived so far leading up to this one and kind of what finds you in the chair today? Who are you? Who's Chris?
Thank you. So 53 rotations around the sun here. As of today, I am a former military police sergeant and law enforcement officer, got out of all my uniforms back in 1999, got into sales management, became a sales executive, ultimately a business owner many times over, exited my last company in 2011, and I've been coaching other CEOs and their leadership teams full-time as an EOS implementer and CEO coach. So that's how I spend most of my time. And then I also run a veterans community called Business Sergeant, and then have a software application called Go Expand for those that run on EOS. It's a licensed deal. So that's how, and then I am a husband of almost 30 years, and I have two sons, 21 and 18, and they're both musicians. So that's
right on.
The high level what's going on with this guy, but really happy to be here today with you.
Oh, that's super cool, man. And thank you for the personal touch there. And it's really great to have you on. I think maybe to start, what I'd love to do is just kind of dive down the thread of, as a man that spent so much time in those institutions that you mentioned earlier, that I think have a long history of really sort of promoting, as you've mentioned before, discipline and loyalty, just a lot of good habits, I guess. So I don't even need to name them all, but just to broadly speaking, good habits. And then you overlay that in a world where now you do a bunch of business coaching, right? And you're with CEOs and you're with companies. And I just think that you bring a really unique and interesting vantage point with a lot of strengths from your backgrounds, and now a lot of wisdom with your sort of current role that you're in now. And I just would love to pick your brain on the intersection of that and you know, nuggets that you've seen that are just helpful tools and kind of universal principles, and just sort of let you wrap for a little bit from your experience.
Yeah, let me start with personal branding, right? The business sergeant. When someone hires the business sergeant, they're by definition not hiring someone to tiptoe around the tulip field or navigate some eggshells on the floor. They're hiring someone to come in here and call balls and strikes and do what's best for the team. So the first bit of advice is just lean into who you are. You know what I mean? I'm not a Sunday school teacher. I'm not Mary Poppins. Like, that is not my branding. Don't try to be everything to everybody. Lean into who you are in its fullest. And even if that turns off half the world, the other half it doesn't is really into it. So net, there's only one of you. There's only one of your business.
And I think
really
that
find
even
your
applies
niche
from a manager standpoint, right? And even like an HR standpoint, especially if you get the green light to kind of build your own team. So maybe you inherit a team and some of them are longtime members of the organization, but not a great fit, or just kind of, you know, that sort of, that I think that can apply to someone beyond just a business owner, right?
100% doesn't matter. Like when you work for a company has core values. Like, first off, do they really live them, right? Or are they just words for the wall? So being authentic and raw and real and unapologetic and exclusive, quite frankly, because being overly inclusive is something that is not good in business. I mean, it's good other places, but all a company is a collection or a curation of human beings who want the same thing. So I like to take my coaching all the way up to root causation and say, listen, anyone who doesn't like that, that's okay. They can not like that somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because like, our job is to create an environment for the right people to thrive, not for the wrong people to thrive. So if you have people pushing back, your unicorns are loving it, but the middle and the bottom doesn't like it, that just means that you have somehow collected the wrong curation of humans, even if they were at years ago the right people,
Yeah.
because quite frankly, every quarter we should kind of re-enlist. We should say, I really love it here. You're like, people aren't forced here, right? Or you don't chain you to your desk. You're free to leave. In the military, they issue you soldiers, and they're not all 10 out of 10. Your job is to take them and make them as serviceable as you can. In the civilian business world, you get to pick from the 7 billion people on the planet.
Right.
So like, there's no reason for you not to have a fully curated a team that want to be here, are wonderful teammates. They're willing to be a little uncomfortable personally for the greater good of the team. If I'm not describing 100% of your team, that's the issue. Whoever is in charge of allowing the wrong people to stay too long, I'm looking at you. And when I come to an organization, many of the brands I coach are brands that we would all know, publicly traded, large. EOS was built for smaller companies, but I tend to get pulled into larger scale businesses that want to move their boat like a speedboat, not a cruise ship. So that's why they get an operating system and a coach like me. And the first thing I do is like, okay, like this culture is determined by the worst behavior that this team is willing to tolerate. What's the worst thing we're tolerating? Because that's who we are. And if you don't like to identify that way or speak that way, then we're going to fix that behavior. And then we're going to behave in a way that matches the words on the wall. So I'll call people out, lower your core values. We're mildly interested in being kind of okay-ish. It doesn't sound good when you say that, but that's the level you're willing to manage to. So I would ask you to lower your values or raise your ability to lead, manage, and hold people accountable. And either one is fine, a little bit of both. But whatever it's going to be, that's what it has to be. And when we tell people things are a certain way, and it's plain to them that it's not always like that, that erases all the things that are true that you want them to believe in. So this is everybody in management listening to this. Like, if you have 4 or 5 direct reports and you're not pinching yourself that all 4 or 5 of those people are amazing, and you thank your lucky stars every morning that they're on your team and they're happy, then you're the problem. You're exactly who I'm talking to. And if every manager looks at their direct reports in the same way, and we all have that behavior throughout the organization, you're going to have an award-winning company. Just to give you a little context here, okay? So my clients all graduation time, EOS is like a 2-year process for the most part on average. Less than 1% of businesses can win one of these Business Journal's Best Place to Work awards. These are not write a check awards, vanity awards. These are engagement survey, and they're going to give an anonymous email to everyone with an email address. And if they don't even like the coffee, you're going to hear about it on the survey. So like, to be winning these awards, like, a couple hundred of these individual awards have been won by my clients. And that is like high 80s, low mid 90th percentile in engagement, like world class. The average business is what, 35, 40% engaged. That's why there's TV shows about The Office. That stuff's funny, unless you're a title character in one of the worst episodes. So like, we have a proven system, and we all opt into it or we opt out of it. So there's that middle circle, right? We got the heck yeah, the heck no. The middle one's just heck or hell with the flames in the middle. My job as a coach, and what I would implore your listeners to take your own team to task with, regardless of where you sit in the organization. What are we all into or all out of? Or is there a bunch of stuff in the middle that we're not all the way into or not all the way out of? And that right there is the gray, the sticky stuff that inhibits growth, makes it complex, where we can push everything into the heck yeah and the heck no bin. The operating environment is greatly simplified, and your ability to be successful is 10x. So that's kind of one of the big insights: is get a plan, opt in or opt out, and really simplifying that by not trying to accommodate 47 different versions of it is my point.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly well taken, actually, and incredibly well stated. I had a few thoughts in there, and one of them was, you mentioned words on the wall, and you mentioned core values, and you sort of mentioned that, at least the way I interpret it, but correct me if I'm wrong, sort of in the context of, guys, we need to pick a North Star that is indeed meaningful to us, and we need to make sure all of you guys are bought in, hook, line, and sinker towards this, right? And so I almost wonder how much in your opinion, are there companies out there, or maybe even teams out there? Maybe you can get core values as a team, right? Hey guys, I know the company core values are X, Y, and Z. Us as a team, we've got, A, B, and C sort of a thing. But I wonder about the practice of revisiting those, not just to say, hey, are we indeed living them, but almost to say, do they need to be changed, right? Like, were they thrown up as words on a wall or done by our former founder, or, do they embody not only where we are today, but where we're going? And so if I'm trying to work desperately to listen to Chris and get everybody to sing from the same dang song sheet, like, is this the right song sheet? Am I asking that question okay?
You are, and I think it's a great question. And inside the EOS process, the way we discover core values on our second day is we ask for 3 people. If you had 100 of any one of them, we could take over the world. And these are people that work at the company, not on the leadership team, because then it gets weird. And if we don't have a bunch of unicorns, then we can go back to your past life or even celebrities or people you admire. And then the point is, when we do it correctly, and everyone in the room would say, I got 7 people in the room, everyone has 3, there's probably going to be some commonalities. So we're talking about the same 15-ish people. Everyone sees it differently. These are the 3 attributes that I think for this person, this person, this person. That's 9 attributes per person. All those walls, we put them into the buckets. And then we say, oh, by the way, why do you like this person? Well, because of this, because of this. Well, we start to see that heat map where the same things, the people we love, all exhibit those. So the opposite, right? The antonym to hardworking is lazy. So we don't like lazy people. We like people with a good work ethic. We like people that put their name on it, the quality, they stamp it versus people that, no, it wasn't me. We like accountable people, right? Versus people that are not accountable. So if we find people that don't communicate, aren't accountable, and they're not committed, they don't care, those are the people that steal the vision and what we're all here to do against the people that do. So again, we say we are these things because it says it all over the company. It says it on the website, but we don't really act that way. So now you're saying we are one thing and then you're providing another thing. Well, that's called fraud. It's bait and switch. Imagine anytime anyone here has ever had a marketing message from a company. Let's say honesty, integrity, service to others. Those were Enron's core values, I believe, or I'm paraphrasing. And their leadership team is just getting out of prison, right? They were shutting down emergency rooms and neonatal units to manipulate energy futures. So I'm pretty sure there's a special place in hell for that whole leadership team, when they meet St. Peter. But their core values were like everybody else's, but they were completely full of malarkey. So that to me is an affront to everyone else who actually behaves that way. And quite frankly, when we remove the wrong people from the organization who clearly are never going to want to behave that way, they're just not wired like that. There could be nothing wrong with them personally, good people, but when they come to this office for 8 to 10 hours a day, for all of us to work together, hopefully successfully, so we can get a holiday bonus and share that with the people we sacrifice for. These are the people subverting the bonus. This is why Clark Griswold got a fruitcake of the month versus a swimming pool, right? Because some executive said, oh, we're going to do this instead. And that's not how you build a great company. You build a great company because the person to my right and left, just like in the military, has got my back. And even if I don't even like this person personally, they're wonderfully professionally. I trust my life to them, or I trust my numbers to them in the civilian business world. So the point is, when you hang on to the wrong person, number one, the wrong person, believe it or not, isn't happy. They're failing. They know they're failing. For whatever reason, they're not doing anything about it. And that's uncomfortable for them and everyone else around them. So that person, the team, the company, and the other person that loses is the right person suffering at another company that would thrive at ours, but there's no space for them because we keep hanging on to these wrong people. So when we eject the wrong people, we actually help that person find their person and their position because we're not it. The team immediately has the right person and they're not having to redo the wrong person's work. So they're able to go fast. And then the person that we rescued and now they're thriving, they win.
That's all the time we have for you this week on the show. We ran a little bit long on our chat with Chris. We're going to break this into 2 pieces. So join us next week for part 2. Really awesome guy, really great conversation. I hope you guys are enjoying part 1. And thank you to our sponsors, Rula, Excel Health, TrueHue, Montage Insurance Solutions, the guys keeping the lights on. We are blessed to be here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Join us for the great, thrilling conclusion part 2 next week. Join us every week. And until next week, make this the best week yet.